In ancient India, there was a substance so precious, so vital, that physicians considered it the difference between life and death. Not a medicine you could buy, not an herb you could harvest. A substance your own body creates, drop by drop, through a process so refined that it takes 40 days of perfect health to produce even a small amount. They called it Ojas. And according to Ayurveda, the 5,000-year-old medical system of India, this substance is what separates the vibrant from the dying, the immune from the sick, the radiant from the dull. It's your life force in its most concentrated, most powerful form. And here's what they discovered that modern medicine is only beginning to understand. Your sexual essence, your semen, is the raw material from which Ojas is made. Waste your semen, and you deplete your Ojas. Conserve it, and you build a reservoir of vitality that makes you nearly invincible. The ancient texts are explicit about this. They describe a transformation chain that's both physiological and energetic. Food becomes blood, blood becomes muscle, muscle becomes fat, fat becomes bone, bone becomes marrow, marrow becomes semen. And if you're wise enough to conserve that semen, it undergoes one final, miraculous transformation. It becomes Ojas, the essence of all essences, the substance that determines whether you live with vitality or slowly decay into weakness and disease. This isn't mysticism. This is a sophisticated medical framework developed over thousands of years of careful observation. The ancient Ayurvedic physicians watched what happened to men who ejaculated frequently versus men who conserved their seed. They documented the differences in health, immunity, mental clarity, physical strength, and lifespan. And they built an entire science around optimizing this most precious substance. To understand Ojas, you need to understand how Ayurveda views the body's creation of tissue. Because Ojas isn't something you eat or drink. It's the final product of a transformation chain that starts with the food you consume. Ayurveda teaches that digestion happens in 7 successive stages, each creating a different tissue layer called Dhatus. This isn't metaphor. This is their model of how your body converts food into living tissue. You eat food. Your digestive fire, called Agni, breaks it down into rasa, nutrient plasma. This is the liquid essence that gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Then rasa is refined into rakta, blood tissue. The nutrients circulate and create red blood cells, hemoglobin, the vital fluid that carries oxygen. Rakta transforms into mamsa, muscle tissue. The proteins and nutrients build and repair muscle fibers. Mamsa becomes meta, fat tissue. Your body stores energy reserves in adipose tissue. Meta refines into asthi, bone tissue. Minerals are deposited, creating your skeletal structure. Asthi produces maja, marrow tissue. Inside your bones, the soft marrow generates blood cells and nervous tissue. And maja creates shukra, reproductive tissue. This is your sexual essence, your semen in men, reproductive fluids in women. Now here's where the mathematics gets interesting. The ancient texts state that it takes 40 drops of blood to create 1 drop of bone marrow, and it takes 40 drops of bone marrow to create 1 drop of shukra, of semen. Think about what this means. By the time your body has created semen, it has gone through an incredibly resource-intensive process. Semen represents the culmination of all tissue production. It's the most refined, most concentrated substance your body normally produces. Most people stop here. They create shukra, they ejaculate, they expel it, and the cycle starts over. Food becomes plasma, becomes blood, becomes muscle, becomes fat, becomes bone, becomes marrow, becomes semen, becomes gone. Wasted, expelled. The entire investment of resources, time, and energy literally flushed away for 15 seconds of pleasure. But Ayurveda teaches there's an 8th transformation, available only to those who conserve their sexual essence. When you retain shukra, when you don't expel it, your body has the opportunity to refine it one more time. Into Ojas. Ojas is the essence of all 7 tissues combined. It's the most refined, most subtle, most powerful substance your body can produce. The ancient texts describe it as 8 drops of a pearl-white, honey-sweet substance that resides in the heart. 8 drops, that's all. The sum total of perfect health created drop by drop over months and years of conscious living. The physician Charaka, who lived around 300 BCE and wrote one of the foundational texts of Ayurveda, described Ojas in detail. He said it's located in the heart. It's the essence that gives life to all the tissues. and it's the foundation of immunity, strength, and vitality. He wrote that when Ojas is abundant, a person is fearless, strong, and healthy. When it's diminished, the person becomes weak, anxious, and vulnerable to every disease. So what does Ojas actually do? Why does it matter if you have 8 drops or 0 drops? According to Ayurveda, Ojas is responsible for everything that makes you feel alive and vital. First, immunity. Ojas is your body's primary defense against disease. When Ojas is strong, you don't get sick. Viruses can't take hold. Bacteria can't establish infection. Your immune system operates at peak efficiency. When Ojas is depleted, you catch everything. Every cold, every flu, every infection that comes around finds you vulnerable. Charaka wrote that Ojas is the essence of all bodily tissues, and when it's present, the person is full of vitality, has strong immunity, and enjoys excellent health. When it's diminished, the person becomes weak and susceptible to disease. This isn't abstract philosophy. Ancient physicians observed this pattern consistently. Men who conserved their semen remained healthy even during epidemics. Men who ejaculated frequently were the first to fall sick. Second, strength and endurance. Ojas gives you physical stamina and resilience. Men with abundant Ojas can work long hours without fatigue. They recover quickly from exertion. Their muscles are strong, their bones are dense, their bodies are durable. The texts specifically state that wrestlers, warriors, and laborers who conserved their seed could work twice as long and lift twice as much as men who didn't. Third, mental clarity and emotional stability. Ojas directly affects your nervous system and brain function. High Ojas means sharp thinking, good memory, stable mood, resistance to stress. Low Ojas means brain fog, forgetfulness, anxiety, depression, emotional volatility. The ancient texts describe the mind as being directly dependent on Ojas for its proper functioning. When Ojas is strong, the mind is like a clear lake, perfectly reflecting reality. When Ojas is weak, the mind is disturbed, clouded, unable to perceive clearly. Fourth, complexion and radiance. This is visible. People with strong Ojas literally glow. Their skin is clear and lustrous. Their eyes are bright. They have what the texts call tehas, a spiritual luster that others can see and feel. You know it when you meet someone with strong Ojas. They have presence, charisma, an indefinable quality that draws people to them. This isn't imagination. This is a real, observable phenomenon that Ayurvedic physicians documented thousands of years ago. Fifth, reproductive vitality and sexual vigor. This is ironic but true. Men who conserve their semen and build Ojas have better sexual function than men who ejaculate constantly. Why? Because Ojas nourishes all the tissues, including the reproductive tissues themselves. A man with strong Ojas can maintain erections longer, has more intense sensations, and experiences deeper satisfaction. But he doesn't need to ejaculate to feel satisfied. His entire system is already satisfied at a cellular level. The texts also describe Ojas as being responsible for fertility. A man with depleted Ojas, even if he can ejaculate, produces weak, defective sperm. A man with abundant Ojas produces potent, vital sperm that can create healthy offspring. This is why the texts recommend that men who want to conceive children should practice brahmacharya, celibacy, for several months before attempting conception. Build up maximum Ojas, then use that concentrated vitality to create strong children. Now let's talk about what depletes Ojas, because understanding this is critical. The texts identify several major causes of Ojas depletion. The first and most obvious is excessive ejaculation. Every ejaculation directly expels shukra that could have been transformed into Ojas. The more frequently you ejaculate, the less opportunity your body has to build Ojas reserves. Men who ejaculate daily are running on empty. Their bodies are in constant deficit, always trying to replace what was just lost, never able to accumulate a surplus. The second cause is improper diet. Eating foods that are difficult to digest, eating at irregular times, overeating, eating while emotionally disturbed, all of this weakens your digestive fire and impairs the tissue transformation process. If you can't properly digest food into rasa, you can't build blood. If you can't build blood, you can't build muscle, and so on down the chain. Poor digestion at any stage cascades through the entire system. The third cause is excessive physical exertion without adequate rest. When you overwork, overtrain, push your body beyond its capacity to recover. You burn through Ojas as emergency fuel. Your body starts consuming its own essence to keep functioning. This is why athletes who overtrain become immunocompromised and sick. They've depleted their Ojas. The fourth cause is emotional stress and mental agitation. Chronic anxiety, anger, fear, worry, all of these states consume Ojas. The texts are clear that emotional disturbance is just as depleting as physical exertion. A man in constant emotional turmoil will deplete his Ojas even if he's physically healthy and conserving semen. The fifth cause is staying awake at night. Sleep is when your body builds and restores tissues. Chronic sleep deprivation, especially staying awake past 10 p.m. regularly, severely impairs Ojas production. The hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. are considered the most critical for tissue restoration. The sixth cause is exposure to toxins, whether through polluted air, contaminated water, drugs, alcohol, or processed foods loaded with chemicals. These substances poison the tissues and prevent the proper transformation from one dhatu to the next. And the seventh cause is simply aging. As you get older, your body's capacity to produce Ojas naturally declines. This is why older people are more susceptible to disease, have less energy, and recover more slowly from illness or injury. But the texts also state that a man who conserves his seed and follows proper lifestyle can maintain strong Ojas even into old age, while a young man who wastes his seed will have the Ojas of an elderly person. So how do you build Ojas? How do you move from depletion to abundance? The foundation, the absolute non-negotiable foundation, is sexual continence. You must stop wasting semen. This doesn't necessarily mean total celibacy for everyone, though the texts recommend that for those seeking maximum vitality. But at minimum, ejaculation should be rare, deliberate, and only for the purpose of conception. The ancient recommendations vary by age and constitution, but generally suggest that a healthy young man in his 20s should ejaculate no more than once every 2 weeks. A man in his 30s, once a month. A man in his 40s, once every 2 months. A man over 50, rarely or never unless trying to conceive. These aren't arbitrary restrictions. They're based on observation of how long it takes the body to fully recover and rebuild chakra reserves after ejaculation. If you ejaculate again before full recovery, you're operating in permanent deficit. You never build the surplus needed to create Ojas. Beyond sexual continence, building Ojas requires proper nutrition. You need to eat foods that are easy to digest, nutritionally dense, and suited to your constitution. Fresh vegetables, whole grains, ghee, milk from well-treated cows, almonds, dates, honey. These are classical Ojas building foods. Avoid processed foods, excessive meat, garlic, onions, and anything that creates heat and agitation in the system. You need adequate rest and sleep. Go to bed by 10 p.m. Wake with the sun. Give your body the darkness and stillness it needs to rebuild tissues. The texts state that 1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours after midnight in terms of restorative value. You need to manage stress and cultivate emotional peace. Practice meditation. Spend time in nature. Avoid unnecessary conflict and drama. The calm mind preserves Ojas. The agitated mind burns it. You need moderate, regular exercise. Not excessive, not depleting, but enough to keep your digestive fire strong and your channels clear. Yoga, walking, swimming, these are ideal. Intense training that leaves you exhausted is counterproductive, and you need to avoid toxins. Breathe clean air. Drink pure water. Minimize exposure to chemicals, drugs, and alcohol. Keep your internal environment as pure as possible so the transformation from food to Ojas can proceed unobstructed. When you follow these principles consistently over months and years, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel different, not dramatically at first, but gradually. You notice you don't get sick as often. When you do get a cold, it's milder and shorter. You have more energy throughout the day. Your mind is clearer. Your mood is more stable. You sleep better. You wake refreshed. Your physical appearance changes. Your skin becomes clearer, more radiant. Your eyes brighten. You develop a kind of glow that others notice, even if they can't explain what they're seeing. Women become more attracted to you, drawn by something they perceive unconsciously. This is the Dhatus, the radiance of abundant Ojas. Your mental capacity expands. You can focus for longer periods. Complex problems become easier to solve. Your memory improves. You learn new skills more quickly. This is your brain functioning on high-quality fuel instead of running on fumes. Your emotional life stabilizes. The mood swings diminish. Anxiety decreases, depression lifts. You feel more grounded, more centered, more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. This is Ojas nourishing your nervous system, and your spiritual practice deepens. If you meditate, you enter deeper states more easily. If you pray, you feel more connected. If you do yoga, you experience more profound openings. Ojas is the physical foundation for spiritual development. You cannot build a house without a foundation. You cannot achieve higher consciousness without sufficient ojas. The ancient masters knew this. That's why every spiritual tradition that originated in India emphasized brahmacharya, not as punishment or repression, but as the necessary foundation for the work. You want enlightenment? Build ojas first. You want supernatural abilities? Build ojas first. You want to merge with the divine? Build ojas first. This is the secret that's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Your body already knows how to create the most powerful vitality substance in existence. It's doing it right now, transforming food through 7 stages of refinement. The only question is, what are you doing with the final product? Are you wasting it on momentary pleasure? Or are you allowing it to undergo that 8th transformation, the transformation into Ojas, into radiant health, into spiritual power, into everything you're actually capable of becoming? The choice is yours. It always has been. But now you know what you're choosing between. Now you understand what's at stake. 8 drops of pearl white essence residing in your heart. The difference between vitality and depletion. The difference between immunity and sickness. The difference between ordinary consciousness and enlightened awareness. Ayurveda gave you the map. The question is, are you going to follow it?